Okay, and now we'll have Leslie come up and give the registration services report.
Good morning, everyone. I have a quick update for the Registration Services Department. So this is the current RSD team. This is the very hardworking RSD team. We have a total of 8 analysts at the moment. I think most of those names look familiar to you guys. We have one analyst out indefinitely on medical leave, so we are short-staffed, and we have not changed our staffing levels for the past 3.5 years. I want to talk a little about our core functions. I don't usually do this, but I've been reading things on the mailing list, and I think people are a little confused about some of the things we do and how we do them. So obviously our main function is IPv4, IPv6, and ASN requests, including all the fun things that go with that, vetting and fraud reports and all those things. We get almost 600 requests in those 3 areas each month. We do transfer requests and related services, STLS. We're doing transfer pre-approvals. Across the board with the 8.2, 8.3, and 8.4 transfers, we're getting about 50 transfer requests a month. We do database record maintenance, and we'd like to devote more time and attention to that to make sure we have an accurate database. We don't have the time at the moment, but we probably will in the future. We do customer support. That's a big part of what we do, obviously. We have Ask ARIN, which is the questions that come in through ARIN Online. We're averaging 250 questions per month there. We run a telephone help desk. We operate that for 60 hours per week. We get about 1,100 calls per month on the help desk. And we do hostmaster at ARIN.net, which is the catch-all for all the other questions and things that come in. And we get about 19,000 emails in that account each month. We also have a very large role in support functions, which probably most people don't realize, and we spend a lot of time in these areas. Obviously, policy development and implementation with staff assessments, implementation plans, policy experience reports, et cetera. We work with engineering very closely and software development for a lot of the ARIN Online tools and software. We write requirements, we do the testing, we participate in all the sprint planning meetings, et cetera, et cetera. We're heavily involved in communications. We do a lot of writing. We are considered to be the subject matter experts in lots of areas of the registry. So we write guidelines and documentation, announcements, ACSP implementations. We write blogs. And there is a new blog on IPv4 Team Review in case anyone is interested. We released it yesterday or the day before. We do outreach. We participate in all the ARIN on the roads. We do trade shows. We represent ARIN. We do presentations at various places, et cetera, et cetera. And lots of statistics and database analysis. We do monthly stats. We also respond to requests from the community for data, statistics, from the board, from the AC, from whoever wants them. So we have a lot of changing dynamics. We're seeing changing dynamics with IPv4 depletion. We have team review, which I'll talk about in some later slides. We see more out-of-region requests. We see more requests involving new technologies and services, things that we hadn't seen 2 or 3 years ago. We have a new customer profile. We have lots of first-timers. A lot of ISPs are directing their downstream customers to come directly to ARIN for space. And this is requiring more education, a little more hand-holding with these customers. We spend a lot of time with them. We expect to have an increase in our workload in the transfer area, and that would be 8.2s and 8.3s. And we think we'll be seeing a lot more legacy holders coming in to get involved in 8.3 transfers in the post-depletion world. And that is going to require an increase in vetting and chain of custody research because a lot of these legacy records are out of date. And because the legacy records are out of date, a lot of the 8.3 transfers will have to be preceded by 8.2 transfers to bring the registrations current. So factors affecting IPv4 requests directly, team review. Obviously, it slowed down IPv4 request processes. Everything is serialized, all requests and responses. They're processed on a first in, first out basis, and they all now involve a second team member for each customer interaction. There are a lot of customer depletion concerns, concerns about unavailability of IPv4 later. There's some frustration with policies because people want what they want what they need, and sometimes policies get in the way, and that's our job to implement and enforce policy. So there's sometimes a bit of a headbutting there. And then we are seeing some increased fraudulent activity. So this requires more due diligence, more staff time required to deal with the increase in potentially fraudulent requests and fraud reports. So the increase in the IPv4 workload. So we just went back to one year ago. 2 years ago, 2012. And between then and now, we've seen a 45% increase in the total number of IPv4 request tickets. And of course, obviously, there's more work involved in each ticket because there's more complexity, there's some more fraud, there's more red flags, we ask a lot more questions, and of course, team review. So we're actually up to just under 1,000 requests per month in IPv4, up from, 650 2 years ago. So it's also taking longer to approve IPv4 tickets. So the average approved IPv4 ticket length is reflected in this chart. 2 years ago, it was about 26 days from the time it takes to move the request from receipt to final approval, actually to issuance. And now it's just about 38 days. So it is taking longer. There's more scrutiny involved. And our response times have been running at 3 to 5 business days. Our SLA is 2 business days. I am happy to say, actually, that we have been running a 3 business day turnaround time for about the past week, and I hope that we can maintain it. Not sure, but we're trying. So why are we doing IPv4 team review? Well, this is not a new concept. All the other RIRs who faced depletion did team review, very much like we are doing it. Everything that we do is processed first in, first out. That includes requests and responses. Whatever is in the queue that day gets processed in order. The reason we do it is there's multiple parties vying for this limited inventory, and we see the need for fair and equitable distribution of this limited resource, and this is the way that we think it would work. It works best. And of course, I've mentioned we have 2 analysts reviewing everything, and this is in order to ensure consistent application of policies and procedures. A second set of eyes guarantees that. So the way it works, I know there's been some speculation, so I'm just going to briefly highlight how we actually do this. We have 3 analysts that get assigned about 30 tickets each day to review, with the oldest being reviewed first. They conduct a preliminary review, they write their conclusions, they determine what policy they would qualify under, they determine what questions to ask, action items, they note it in a file. And we have a senior analyst who's dedicated to reviewing these initial assessments and responding. He's making sure that the policies are being followed and that we're applying the right rules, et cetera. And because the prep work has already been done, the responses can be done more quickly. So he follows up in order on the other 3 analysts who are doing analysis. So we think it's more time efficient than having multiple analysts meeting, reviewing, and then responding. So just a clarification on the other things that we do. I've seen some speculation on the list and questions. Specific analysts, we have 4 other analysts that are assigned to all other tasks. So IPv4 team review does not delay these. All of our other tasks are still responding within the 2-day response time per our SLA. Transfers are not team reviewed, but they do involve multiple analysts, and all of the transfers are reviewed by senior staff or by me, and then they are signed off on. So our current IPv4 inventory is down to 0.63/8 equivalent, sorry. In our reserved inventory, that which we call returned, revoked, held, the space that we hold that gets returned or typically that we revoke, sits in a hold bucket, in a quarantine bucket for 60 days to clear filters. So we've got 14.9/16 equivalents there. We still have the /10 reserved for NRPM 4.10 dedicated v4 block to facilitate v6 deployment. We've issued a single /24 from that block. And we have also issued, I think, about a 22's worth to the RIPE NCC, who are conducting an experiment on routability of prefixes smaller than /24. And then we have 225/24 still remaining in the /16 reserve for microallocations. This is the block size distribution. This is on our website. It gets updated every day. We don't have any 9s or 8s, but we have a 10 and an 11, and we go up as high as a little over 1,000 /24s remaining in our available inventory. So just to mention, someone had asked me about this, and I just want to mention, ARIN does actually get space back from the IANA per this global policy for post-exhaustion IPv4 allocation mechanisms by the IANA. Okay, that's a long one. So it says that the RIRs can return v4 space of any prefix size to IANA, and IANA will then reissue this return space in equal allocation sizes to the five RIRs twice per year. That happens in March and in September. The policy was activated in May of 2014 when LACNIC reached their first /9. That is the activation of the policy. And IANA started with about 1.21/8s in total. and they've now issued 10/12s, 2 to each of the RARs. We got them in May of 2000. We each got a single /12 in May 2014. We got another /12 in September of 2014. Our next allocation will come next May of 2015. And I'm not quite sure how much that will be, but you guys are the math kids, so you can probably figure it out better than me. Completed V4 market transfers, transfers to specified recipients. We've completed 91 of them. That encompasses 53,628/24s and 15 ASNs. And inter-RAR transfers, we've completed 42 of them to date, and that encompasses 5,048/24s in total. And talking about ISP members with V4 and V6, we've been tracking this for a while. This one goes back to 2010. At that point in our membership, our ISP members, 75% were IPv4 only and 25% had V4 and V6. And now, in 2014, at the end of Q3, 58% of our members are V4 only and 42% have both V4 and V6. And that's out of our almost 5,000 members. And I can tell you in that number, there are 85 organizations that have legacy IPv4 space that also have IPv6, which makes them a member of ARIN by virtue of having their V6. And that's all I have. Are there any questions? Oh, Heather, sorry, didn't see you. Okay.
It's way more my height. Okay. So one of the things you mentioned was that the overall time, Heather Schiller, Google Fiber. One of the things that she mentioned was the overall time for fulfilling requests on average has moved from 26 days to 38 days. But you also said things like a lot of new organizations are coming to you for the first time. They're not familiar with the process. You spend more time with them. Mm-hmm. Do you think that that helps account for some of the amount of time that it's taking?
I think so. We're asking a lot more questions in those cases, yeah, and
Okay.
doing more education.
Yeah, recognize that the total time is both our turnaround time when they give us information, takes us 2-3 days to respond sometimes because of the workload, and then we have to wait for them to respond to our response. So the total time is the sum of all those wait times.
Yes.
And yeah, it's crept up predominantly because of when new people come, they don't understand what we're going to be asking, even if it's on the website.
Right. And so I was also wondering about applications that you see, like how often do they provide you everything that you need in the application sort of on the first or second try? Like how bad is that?
Yeah, it's almost never do they provide us with what we need up front. We've tried to make that simpler. As Susan mentioned, we've put up examples of what we're looking for and how to provide the data to us. I think that's actually helped. But we, especially with newcomers, we have to ask questions. They don't know what to provide. They really don't.
Okay. And my second question is about, and I'm not sure if you had a slide on it, but the order that you allocate space in. So you have like a /10, 11, maybe like a 13 and a 15. Mm-hmm. Which block do you fragment first? Because we'd heard.
Yeah, you know what? We've talked about it, and I've been discussing it with my staff. Typically, we would go to. So if somebody needs a.
Someone needs a 14.
Yes. We would likely go into the 13 and break it.
Okay.
That's what we're talking about. Don't hold me to that.
Okay.
We haven't decided for sure. I want to take that back and talk to staff.
Someone had said that you go to the largest block first.
We have done that as well.
That's concerning.
We have done that as well. So we're still discussing.
Okay.
No need to panic yet.
Actually, sorry to disagree with you, but yes, actually panic now because there's only one or two, one or two left at the top. So like going and, no, I mean really, like if you go and break the /10 and someone comes and asks for a 10, you can't give it to them when you could have broken the 13. So that really does actually have an impact.
Right. Got it. Middle, Mike? Or, yeah, I guess middle, or, yeah. I can't, yeah. Middle of the middle, yes.
Sure, we'll start. And I'm a little too tall for this mic, so I guess it's set right. Adam Thompson, Manitoba Internet Exchange. The experimental allocation that was delegated to RIPE for that routing experiment, is there any ETA on when they're supposed to be producing results for that?
There is, and RIPE is right behind you, and they're going to tell you a little bit more.
Hello, cover Ryan from RIPE NCC. Yeah, so we actually published, after 4 days of running the experiment, we published a basic set of results. We are planning to run it for about 6 months to compile a complete result set. But just to quickly tell you about the results, for S/24, after 4 days, 92% of our RIS peers all around the globe was able to see them. For S/25, 14% when there was no route object, and 20% when there was a route object present. And for S/28, only 15% when there was a route object, and only 10% when there was no route object. So that's the results after running it for 4 days. But I hope that by next NANOC, we will produce a more detailed or more scientific report. No, 24 after 4 days was only 92%. But that's usual. With or without route object, S/24s were 92% after. Yep.
Thanks, Kaveh. The middle.
Hi,
the middle.
Paul from Internet Operating Services. Just a quick aside, since the last ARIN meeting, I've done a couple ASN and IP requests for ourselves and other clients, and we've provided information that's normally required and in the past I know is going to be asked in the first request. But it still seems that even with team review, they're asking for information that's already been attached, already been provided, and that's just slowing down the process more and more.
Right. I've heard that in our customers' transactions a couple of times, and I work with my team on that, and I will continue to. So.
And also, there has been one incident on our part where a ticket number has delayed the actual assignment of the resource because accounting had one ticket number and registration services had another, and we're waiting around for this other allocation, and it just somehow happened to have the wrong ticket going into accounting. Is that done electronically or?
Take that offline.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
talk about it afterwards. Yeah,
All right, no
That
absolutely.
problem.
sounds strange.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't sound right. So.
Folks, I am going to close the queue shortly, so if you want to speak on this,
Dan.
come get the queues. Go ahead.
Hey, Leslie.
Again.
Dan Alexander, ARIN AC. I was curious, not free pool allocations, but if we just focus on the transfers. We were debating proposals yesterday about eliminating need to make the processing more efficient. Do you have a sense of when you guys are doing a transfer review, how much effort actually is going into that needs assessment versus how much effort goes to assessing the chain of custody, that it is a valid, resource?
Right. It's an interesting question, and I don't really have a sense of that. All requests get vetted, and we do the chain of custody research, and then we do the needs assessments. I'm not actually sure.
I was just curious if one
I'll
was harder
look at
than
it.
the other.
I'll look at it and get back to you.
Thanks.
Hey, Terry.
Hi, Leslie. Terry Summey, DEA. I was just wondering, you mentioned obviously there's an increase in out-of-region requests. Is it possible to get stats on that, the number of requests coming in what areas?
I'm not sure. What do you?
How do we know it's out of region? Because they have a legal office.
Yeah, they have a legal entity. I mean, it would be a guesstimate if. And
The challenge is that it only comes up when verifying the information and we start asking them, so we want to validate why your past resource usage, and then they give us a list of, like, can you show us the customer assignments or the POP assignments for the dynamic pool, and then they give us back a list of addresses that are in an Asian character set. And we go, well, okay, but we don't, because all of the requests have to come from a legal entity in the region,
Right.
it's not recorded specifically. It's only something we observe when we're trying to process the request during the needs assessment.
Okay.
You know, just to add on to that, I actually have asked my staff to record it in summary files in our own internal files. I might be able to grab through some of that and look. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Hey, Kevin. Oh, Sandy, you want to go?
I think Kevin was at the mic. Yeah? Okay. Sandy Murphy, Parsons. I apologize. I was trying to review the past history to substantiate my thought. In past reports from registration, you have talked about legacy RSAs and the percentage of the space that's legacy and under RSA and not under legacy RSA, and how many are current members and all that sort of stuff. And it's been a while since I've seen those figures. I found it in 2012, but
It's actually on the website. We published that on our website. I haven't included it in the presentation because it is on the website. And we don't see a lot of activity in the legacy RSA area, maybe once a year at this point. So, but it is on the website.
okay, but the percentage of the ARIN managed space that's legacy is interesting to me.
All the spaces, Aaron, managed, you're saying the percentage that's done per a service agreement versus done otherwise. All of the address space in the Aaron region is
Yes.
subject to Aaron administrative policy.
Yes, I know that. But there's some of the space that is under ARIN management that is considered legacy and not under an RSA.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you go to knowledge and you
Okay, I'll find
pull
it.
it down.
No need to take
Yeah, I think it's
people's
in there.
time to
Yeah,
give
I
us
think you'll
URLs.
find what you want.
And-
If not, send me an email.
Okay, and thank you very much for this. It's a wonderful feast for those of us who are info junkies.
Thanks. Hey, Kevin.
Kevin Bloomberg, I believe I said yesterday I love statistics, well, I hate to love statistics, or I love to hate statistics. One of the things with the request that you're doing, if you're doing it just based on the global number of tickets, it really doesn't get a sense of, for me, what's the most important part, which is how often you're touching an overall request. And you talked about finding it very hard to see the 3 to 5 business days as an example. One thing to consider is including the number of times you've had to go back. So we had 5,000 requests, sorry, 5,000 total requests,
Right.
and 4,000 required 8 interactions, 1,000 required
Right.
1 interaction. And that piece would really help
Yeah, I think we
moving
can do
forward.
that. That's good to know. If somebody wrote that down, I know, because I won't remember.
Yeah.
But we'll have it.
The second thing was, are you planning on doing anything from a surge perspective over the next potentially 2 to 3 years as things continue to ramp up? Is there a plan in place to deal with the surge that you are, that's been going on now for 2 years, showing from your slides?
Are you saying in terms of staffing?
Yes.
Excellent question. So do you believe that the workload will continue to ramp up past, let's put depletion between first quarter next year? After that event, first quarter next year, and you're looking at budgeting for the future year, for the 2015 year, do you believe when there is no inventory that we'll still be getting a healthy workload of allocation and assignment requests all going to the wait list?
I believe it will be worse, because what will happen is a couple of things. You will now have people who are trying to figure out what they have to do to get IPv4 space, and having never even come to ARIN like you're seeing now, their upstreams, that will continue. They won't understand the transfer market, that will continue. Your outreach to help these people. So I think they will potentially be different parts, but all part of RSD. And I don't see that really diminishing, John, in the next 2 years.
I was thinking a lot of them would end up being pointed to the specified transfers facilitator list, the broker list. We do direct quite a few people there now who have requests that aren't going to make allocation policy.
There are people, anyway, my point stands. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I think that ARIN having their own plan potentially to look at surge, I think, is important. Because the last point I was going to make was, I believe that the outreach that the RSD does, that is potentially the first thing that's going to get cut in a situation where you're not ready to spool up, is critical. I've watched helpdesk during NANOG help new entrants with their issues, and to me that is critical.
Good insight. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay. Go ahead, Marty.
Not sure if this is the right spot, John, but Proposition 213 suggests that there'll be an increase in the CI pool. Where would those addresses come from? From this distribution here or somewhere else?
From this distribution.
Okay.
That's what we've got.
One other question. Can you talk a little bit about what's happening in the CI pool right now? And it seems like there's a pretty considerable amount of requests coming in. Also, there was a suggestion about sparse allocations, and I don't think I've seen that go out yet.
Right.
Is that going to be coming out at some point?
We have to
Yeah, we
process it.
have to go back and work on that. Yes, we have not done that.
So the suggestion has to wait until you guys work on it, or vice versa?
We need to plan for it. So.
Yeah, we just need to double check that we can implement it,
Right.
and then we'll
Right.
respond. I don't see a difficulty with the sparse allocation suggestion.
Okay.
In regard to the CI pool, we don't really report on requests against the CI pool.
We don't, but I know, I can tell you from personal experience, obviously, that we are seeing more internet exchange requests under the microallocation policy, for sure.
And the 3-participant rule has not been a barrier as far as you know?
It doesn't seem
Yep.
to be.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we can add more information.
We can
to
add
that.
reporting of the CI pool to the future reports.
Yeah,
You
sure.
can see an update. All right, thank you, Leslie.
Thank you for your attention.